Welcome to the Crypto Lab. XRP is crashing, right? Or maybe not. There are 4 key zones that every XRP owner should know about. So if you own XRP, this video is for you. And today I'm going also to talk about the golden resistance on the 2-month time frame. We are going to have a quick look at the bull bear wave. Then I'm going to share an update of the bull bear index. And last but not least, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the cloud chart. If you're new here on this channel, I use my custom indicator to make observations about the market, and I've been pretty accurate so far. So don't hesitate to have a look at my content and subscribe to the channel. That's all for the introduction. Now let's begin. This chart is a beauty, right? The first thing you need to know is about the monthly time frame that I'm using. Here, I'm using the 3-month time frame. And this is very important because on these bigger time frames, the chart is very pure, very clean, without any distraction. And what would be very hidden or even mysterious on a daily time frame, here it becomes crystal clear. So as I said, we have 4 zones. We have the deadly zone, the sand zone, the cloud, right, and the moon zone. And each zone has its own purpose. First, you have the deadly zone, right? Here, it was a bottom. And after touching the deadly zone, we usually go up because the price cannot stay in this zone for too long. As you can see here, it was the same. It was a bottom, right? Here, it was a bottom. And more recently, we have this candle. And usually when we are here, people are very, very scared, right? But this is where the smart money enters the party. Then you have the sand in yellow. And here also, this is a key zone for XRP. This is where you have the most indecision in the market. You will find people saying that XRP will go up, for example, during those bear phases, and people saying that XRP will go down. And this causes a lot of confusion. That's why we could say that the sand zone is also a confusion zone, because this is a zone where XRP will go to a new bottom before going to the cloud again. Here it was the same, you see, we have our bear market, we reached a new bottom and we went to the cloud. Here also, here we penetrated the sand zone with this candle, then we have our bottom. We stayed in the sand for a long time before going to the cloud again. So during the sand phase, you can see that XRP is either preparing for a new bottom or preparing for a new high. Then you have the cloud zone, and this is a key zone for XRP because this is the zone where we will challenge the previous all-time high. And that's why the top of the cloud is a very, very strong resistance. As you can see here, we reached the top of the cloud zone. We got rejected strongly. And here we managed to pierce it, right? But here, look, we were in this phase. But here we tried to go in the cloud, but we got rejected. And after penetrating the cloud, here we got rejected strongly. Indeed, just like what we did when we were here also we challenged the previous close of the all-time high, right? And we got rejected. And maybe you're thinking, but just look, here we just crossed the cloud without testing it, right? But you're wrong, because if we go on a lower time frame, so for example the monthly chart, we can see it. So I will go the 23 days time frame. It's pretty obvious. Look what we did. Here was the level to watch. And indeed, with this huge candle, this huge green candle, we pierced the cloud and we went straight into the moon zone. But after this, what did we do? Here, you can see it with the red candle. So we pierced it and we came back down to retest the cloud as a support. So this reminds you that markets have structure. So now if we go back to the 3-month time frame, you can understand better what is going on right now. Because here, after piercing the cloud and going to the moon zone, we came back to retest the cloud on the 23 days time frame. But here, look what happened. Here, we did the same. We went straight into the moon zone, and then we came back to retest the cloud as a support with this very thick candle. Then again, with this candle, we tried to penetrate the cloud again, but we managed to close above it and to stay into the moon zone. And that's why this structure, right, is very, very strong for XRP. And this is what made us having a new all-time high, right? Another thing to note is that at some point, the sand zone goes over the cloud. And when it's the case, it becomes our new support in the moon zone. For example, here you have the sand zone going up, and then we used it as a strong support before the second leg up. So now you understand better what's going on, okay? Because we have the sand zone crossing and going over the cloud. So this means that it becomes our new support. So I know that you may be scared because XRP is currently going down, but you can see on the macro level how this is bullish. So unless you see XRP penetrating the send zone again, there is nothing to worry about. The send zone is around $2.09. So keep this level in mind, but remember that we are on the 3 month time frame. So even if we pierce it, what we have to pay attention to is where we close the candle. And this current candle will close at the end of September. Now you know everything that needs to be known about this chart. We can move to the next chart of the day, the 2 month chart. You already know about this chart. I've already talked about it multiple times on this channel. And the most important line on this chart is this golden resistance. As you can see, this line has played a key role in XRP price structure. For example, here it was our bottom, right? Then beautiful support just right here. Then resistance, resistance, resistance. We continue here. We hit a bottom and it was a beautiful support. Then another support again. Then we crossed it and we went up to retest it here as a very strong resistance. And this is when it started being an issue for us. Indeed, we went up, we got rejected, we went to the downside, then we went up again to retest it as a resistance, we went down, then all the way up again to test it as a very strong resistance, we got rejected, here we got rejected again, very strong resistance, here again, and with the current candle. So as you can see, this line is responsible for a major part of the structure of the market, and it's because we hit this line that XRP is currently going down. And let's not forget about the orange boxes. I remind you that we have 3 boxes. We have the first one just right here, the second one, and the third one. And I drew them using the overlay of the Bitcoin price chart. And here you see we have our top, bottom, we have the first box. We have our tops here for Bitcoin, the bottom, and we have our second box, and here top, bottom, and we have our third box. And here you can see that this second box was a very strong resistance for us, because here we hit it, the top of it, we got rejected to the downside. Here we penetrated it, but here we got rejected again. And for the very first time, you can see that with this candle, we penetrated here the box, but we stayed inside it with the 3 candles that you can see just right here. Meaning that we tried to go above the box to start our real bull run, but we couldn't, we got rejected. Here with this candle, we tried again, but we couldn't. And here again, you can see that we stayed inside the box. And every time it was the golden line, the golden resistance preventing us from pushing through. And now you can see that XRP is trying again to go through. And now you will understand what is really going on, because if we go on, you can see just right here before I go on the daily time frame, let's have a look at the box. You can see that the box is around, the top of the box is around $2.75. And now if I go on the daily time frame, look what is going on right now. This is amazing, guys. We hit perfectly the top of the box. And of course, this you cannot see it on the 2 months time frame because the candle is still ongoing, in progress, right? But on the daily time frame, if we go back, you understand why the price stopped where it stopped. And that this is the real deal. Of course, it's not impossible to see XRP going through and going inside the orange box again, because what matters the most is the close of the 2 months time frame. But already on the shorter time frame, the daily time frame, you can see why XRP stopped just right here. Because the whole purpose of this is to retest the zone, the orange zone, right? Because look, in the past, you see, the golden resistance was going up, and then now that we reached it, okay, and XRP is trying to go through, we had to retest here the orange zone before going up. For the long time subscriber, you know that this box, guys, I drew it a long time ago. And now look how it's playing out. So when you know where to look at, you know what XRP is doing right now. And everything becomes clearer. Now let's go back to the 2 months time frame, because it's a 2 months analysis, right? And the last thing I want to talk about is the orange line and the blue line. As you know, in the past, the orange line and the blue line were 2 strong resistances. You can see here we touched the orange line and we got rejected by it. And here you see we couldn't go through those lines. But now that we are above them, they became a support, right? But recently we crossed the blue line, as you can see with this candle. So this means that the blue line can become a resistance now. And this is one of the reasons why you see that the price is struggling to go through. It's because now the blue line is a resistance. But at the same time, we have the orange line holding us, and that's why this pushed us to the upside, this one also, and right now the price is trying to close above the orange line, and you see that the orange line is crossing the blue line, pushing like this to the upside. So if the orange line wins, XRP might be able to finally go through the golden resistance. But right now it's a battle and the price is stuck between the blue and the orange. And the current candle will close at the end of August, so at the end of the current month. So with the next candle, we will have a clearer picture of what XRP wants to do, to be pushed down by the blue line or pushed up by the orange line. And also, as you may know, usually XRP reaches tops when the skyline indicator penetrates an orange box. Indeed, here, as you can see, we have the skyline indicator and the orange box, and we have a top here. Here, the same, we penetrated the orange box, and we have a major top for XRP, right? It was like this, sorry. And then here, as you can see, the skyline penetrated the box again, and we have a major top. And here again, we have a major top. So we know that what we have to pay attention to is the skyline and when it will penetrate this area. About the skyline indicator, remember that this is pure speculation, so we don't know if XRP will eventually reach this area, but as you can see in the past, it was the case every time, right? So there is a chance that XRP, if we are able to go through this golden resistance, we will start using it as a support, right? And this seems very reachable for me. Of course, guys, there is no guarantee. This is pure speculation. It's easier to catch bottoms than tops, because when it comes to tops, we are in unknown territories, guys. That's it for this chart. We can move to the next chart, the bull bear wave indicator. I don't want the video to be too long, so we will go straight to the point. After reaching this top, XRP went down to retest the bull bear wave indicator as a support, right? We barely touched it and we went up. Here again, we barely touched it and we went to the upside. Then it waited and it went sideways until reaching the shadow of the bull bear wave before going up. In the past, in 2017, it was very similar. You have XRP reaching a top just right here. Look here. Then we went down to retest here the bull bear wave indicator as a support. Then here again, and we went up until reaching the shadow. So we went sideways until reaching the shadow, right? And this pushed us to the upside. And now it's a bit different because it's the same pattern, except that XRP went up to retest the shadow as a support. So now what we don't want to see is to see XRP crossing the shadow and going like this, because in the past it was a very bad sign. So let's take an example. For example, you can see that just right here, right, we have a top, we went down to retest the shadow as a support in gray, we went up, then we went sideways, and we penetrated the shadow and we crossed it, right? And this was the very beginning of our bear market, because after this, we went up, strong resistance, we got rejected, then again resistance, and we went here to a new bottom. So this is the only thing you need to care about, is this, the interaction between XRP and the shadow. And we don't want XRP to cross the shadow, guys. Right now we are on the weekly time frame, and the next week you can see that the bottom of the shadow will be around $2.20. So keep this level in mind. We don't want XRP to go below that level next. Now let's have a look at the bull bear index. You can see that XRP is still 100% bullish. This is amazing, guys. So there is definitely nothing to worry about yet. And on this chart we have the gummy line. And you can see that this was a strong, very strong resistance in the past during this entire phase, because you see that here it was a support, here we crossed it with this candle and it became a resistance. We went down, then up, and it was a resistance because we have no candle, full candle body closing above the gummy line, then down, up, resistance, down, up, resistance, down, up, resistance before piercing it. So now that we are above it, we just don't want to cross it again. It would be too soon. And currently you can see that the line is around $1.86. And we can move to the last chart of the day, the cloud chart. And this is the very chart that told us that this move was coming. So it's not a surprise, guys. I warned you with this chart. I told you that we had a 2 coming up. And usually when we have 2s, it's not a good sign in bull markets. Why? Because here you see we have a 2, we have a correction. Here we have a 2, we have a correction again. Here we have a 2, even if we were in a bear market, and we have a correction. Here, in the past, in 2017, we have a beautiful 2, and we came back down to retest the cloud as a support. The only time that we got a false signal was here with these 2, but just after you can see that we had a 2 and we came down. Here we have a 2 and we came down. So here it's not a surprise to see this red candle. And you know that the cloud is a very strong support now that we are above it. So the price went up, it went down to retest the cloud just right here, you see, just right here, and we bounced from it. Then we stayed inside the cloud, but then we bounced back to the upside. Right now, the cloud is between $2.05 and $2.37. Not sure that we will reach these levels anytime soon, but we never know. Now you have a full and clear picture of what's going on with XRP. On the macro level, XRP hit the golden resistance and here reached the top of the orange box. So if you are interested in shorter time frames, you need to watch how XRP will react with this orange box. So far so good because we reached it and we went up. So let's see what XRP will do in the coming days. If you want to track this journey with us and you liked the content, please subscribe to the channel. That's all for today's video, and as always, time will tell.